right, let's talk Kansas City first when they have the ball. Nate, you kick us off here. Give me the one stat people need to know about the Kansas City Chiefs when they have the ball. So this could be 49ers defense or Chiefs offense, obviously.
So, yeah, I got a little bit of both. So first and foremost, that this is the 49ers defense is a bottom 5 defense against the run.
Yeah.
They are 28th in running back rushing success rate allowed. So just to the running back runs, which matters because Mahomes doesn't run the ball. He scrambles, but no design runs.
Yeah, no design runs.
They're 27th in explosive run rate allowed, 29th in first downs per rush allowed. So just all of it.
Yeah.
So all of that, and that's just to start with. And it would be more of a real thing if this was a typical Chiefs run game under Andy Reid. But they've come along, but they're still So it's kind of more of a movable force versus a stoppable object kind of thing. But you are still giving Andy Reid 2 weeks to prep against a thing that he knows is a blemish that teams recently have attacked with Aaron Jones with the Packers, the Lions run game, other teams before that. So first and foremost, that's what I'm starting with, is that 49ers run defense is holy and not in a biblical way.
No, definitely not. One of my stats was about the Chiefs run game too. They rank 18th in rushing EPA and 26th in rushing success rate, which I always find funny, the teams that are a little bit better from the EPA perspective and then lower in the success rate standpoint, because basically, like we've said all year, that just means that they get you some, 18th is not anything special, but they're a little bit better in terms of like hitting you with some daggers, but not a consistent down-to-down run game. So, and I think this is interesting because I've wanted to have this conversation about the Chiefs run game because in the metrics bear it out. It is what it is. Yeah. And when watching them, it doesn't feel like that run game. But again, especially as a fantasy show, Pacheco was a great fantasy draft pick. He was great to end the season. I think he was running back I said this like 100 times at media night last night, playing like some higher or lower games with the guys. And I think he was 13th. I should know this off the top of my head because, again, I said it like 100 times last night. But, again, right. either way you slice it, he was a great draft pick. He's been great in fantasy. So tell the people why this has been a bit of an issue and why it's not the same type of ground game we expect from an Andy Reid offense.
2 new tackles going up from Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown is gigantic. He has some blemishes as a pass protector, but he is a damn good run blocker. Right. Can I say damn? I'm saying damn. But, but he's a darn good run blocker. So taking him out and putting in Donovan Smith, who is fine. But he's kind of slightly above replacement level left tackle. And he's been hurt a little bit this year too. So that's already going from even above average to maybe average. Okay, so you got to drop off there. Right tackle, you signed Juwan Taylor, who is also a better pass protector in theory than run blocker. But then you're going from a guy, Wiley, who's been in the system, who was solid. Again, but you're going from solid to Juwan Taylor, who's kind of been average. He's been paid a lot. He's supposed to be good. And so, yeah, he's average. He's replacement level. He's startable, but it's not good.
Right.
Okay, so now you get to the interior. Joe Tooney's hurt right now. That's been late in the season. But Creed Humphrey has had an okay year, had a couple weird plays this year. But then Trey Smith has kind of fallen off this year. So just inconsistencies with the offensive line. Travis Kelce, as brilliant he is as a receiver, is a negative as a run blocker. So that takes away a little bit there. And then Pacheco, who can be explosive, has one of the funniest running styles. Like everybody memes it and everything. He's very inconsistent with his vision. Yeah. And that is where it is. He's going to be a boom-busty running back no matter what the offensive line is doing because that's just how he is. That's why he got drafted in the 7th round. Right. He just doesn't have that natural vision. He can hit it. When he hits it, he hits it. But there's times he gets himself in trouble, looking to cut, looking to bounce things when he's not supposed to. And that can lead to just, inadequate run game if you don't have a second back that you can really rely on to kind of keep the chains going. So that's where it's been the whole season. Again, like I said, it's gotten a little better in the playoffs. They're running a little bit different types of run schemes, and using different personnel, which I'll get to in a sec. But they're using that, and that's helped out a little bit. But it's still at best.
I think that lack of a second pitch has been notable this year. I mean, Jerick McKinnon has been hurt, and I think they really were non-committal about bringing him back, and then they end up doing it. And again, I just don't think he's given them what he has previously, especially because of injuries. CEH is. CH.
He's there.
Yeah, he's there. He's still
good
around.
Teammate.
Hell of a teammate. But yeah, I mean, they haven't had that second pitch, and Pacheco has had to be everything for them, which obviously has borne out good metrics and numbers for fantasy. Yes. But I think you see it in the success rate and stuff like that. It hasn't been consistent. And I do think the 2 issues you outlined there from the run blocking standpoint, like the performance of these offensive lines, which, by the way, I've been saying all year that, like, we've been harping on the Chiefs receivers and stuff, like, and those tackles might have been a bigger issue than the receivers. And that's the thing. And it's same thing in that situation where is it the receiver, is it the lack of timing, or is it the fact that, like, Mahomes doesn't have time back there? And it's the same in the run game where, Pacheco's boom bust. He's not, hitting vision. He doesn't have the best vision. He's not hitting the lanes, whatever. But the blocking isn't there either. It's like these issues for this this team have like compounded on themselves.
Somebody's messing up at one time at the most inopportune time.
Right.
And that's why it feels so, I think the Chiefs are on a lot of national TV games. So I think when people watch it, once they get outside that opening script, they're like, man, it just feels, inconsistent. And that's why. It's because this Chiefs offenses have always had that run game or had a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster. So they have Kelsey and a guy that you can just pepper. Just 5-yard gains. They don't kind of have that little single hitter right now.
Yeah, man, Juju's such a funny player because did you see what Jacoby Myers said about him recently? He said
that's the funniest rivalry that we didn't know we were going to get because of the contract stuff.
Well, the way he said it was, they couldn't find like an extra $1 million for me or whatever. But they signed Juju, and like Juju, he's a good player, but I think the NFL just caught up to him, because of the knees and stuff like that. And I love that from Jacoby Myers.
Literally caught up to him.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah, exactly.
I love Jacoby. He's an awesome player. Yeah. He's so good.
Like I said, Bill, I could have saved you from that. $29.99. I could have saved you from that one.
Free agency was just like, all right. Because you see the underlying numbers, like, of course you do, but it's just like, okay, I look at those. I'm like, okay, he's up there and everything. All right, I'm going to watch this guy. He's like, this guy's winning from the slot. Yeah, he's winning outside, winning against man. I'm like, all right, what? Really? There's not a big market for this guy? Like, freaking Christian Kirk got paid.
I know.
This guy does more.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's a better player. Yeah,
butt off. I'm a big fan of Myers.
Yeah, Chiefs could use somebody like that.
Right.
But
it's literally the exact type of guy they need. I know, it's so funny.
So what do you think just in terms of how this Chiefs running team, for what it is and how it has been better lately, how do you think that matches up, particularly with this 49ers run defense?
I give Andy Reid and Andy Heck, the offensive line coach of the Chiefs, the benefit of the doubt. Again, they have 2 weeks. Like Andy Reid off a bye is like,
right.
It's a thing. It's notorious how good he is off a bye. They did this against the Eagles as well last year. I'll just get into like the other stat. What I think they'll use is the Chiefs started using 3 tight ends more, 13 personnel. They've done that a bunch last year. They kind of got away from it, I think, because they were trying to work out the receivers. And then they were like, all right, we got to win some games. All right, let's stop this around.
I think that that idea is pervasive over everything we talk about with Kansas City now.
They're the only team that could do that.
Yeah, well, but just like the Patriots used to do that every September. It's like, what's wrong with the Patriots? What's going on here? It's like they're just kind of trying to figure stuff out. Yeah, it's preseason. And I feel like the Chiefs maybe pushed that preseason into like October a little bit this year as they're like, I'll never forget in week 1, I'm like, who the hell rotates like 7 receivers like this, just throwing guys out? Like, no.
It's like a training camp practice. Like, give them all reps.
Yeah, even after week 1, I was like, forget the Chiefs receivers, okay? Because like nobody's going to play enough, at least for now, until they sort this thing out, which they've gotten to now. But again, sorry to jump in there, but that's just the pervasive way that everything feels about Kansas City.
It felt like that Packers game was like when they're like, okay, all right, enough of this. And I actually thought Mahomes did a fantastic job of like not blaming the receivers. He blamed everybody else.
Yeah.
But that's leadership. It really is. That's good.
I talked to Sky more about that last night, and just, a guy that has struggled all year, has not been able to get on the same page with Pat Mahomes. And I just asked him, like, what does that mean to you that he never, like I just said, he never threw you guys under the bus. Ever. And he's like, yeah, he's just the best, like, for
That's
that.
Awesome.
Because I think these guys all know, like, I'm sure even as a receiver, whether this guy is the man and he's going to have your back and you have that feeling, he goes up to the press conference and, like, you got to be feeling like, oh, jeez, God almighty. Like, nobody's going to blame him. A couple weirdos on Twitter whatever, but nobody serious is going to blame him. So, like, is he going to say something bad about me? And he never does, which is great.
Yes, I know. This year has been, again, it's like he truly always is going to be an MVP candidate. But like this year, like maybe just it's like every time I watch this guy, I'm like, I appreciate him more. Even stuff like he like changed his cadence this year to help out the offensive line.
Yeah.
But just it's like, God, he's just adding layers. He's not even 30. And like there's people already sick of him. All the people with the UNLV Raiders practice facility, that happens every year. One team practices at the highest college there. One team practices at the NFL facility. It's how it goes.
Yeah.
They practiced at Arizona State's, I think, last year. Arizona. So it's like, I don't know. It's one of those things where now people are already sick of him. It's like, strap in, guys. We got like 8 more years of this at least.
Were you at media night last night?
No, I wasn't. No.
Oh my God, they had like the place was loaded with 49ers fans, and I mean, just that was part of it, obviously. But anytime any Kansas City Chief player like spoke on the main stage, just so many boos. And yeah, you post I post a video about Mahomes on Instagram or whatever, and all you get is like, this is the type of I think it was performative and like patronizing and all this stuff. This is why we're all sick of Mahomes. Like, geez, what do you want us to say? Like, he's great at everything.
He's great. I watch this up in other sports. It's like everyone gets sick of the guy that's the greatest. All right, back to the tight ends.
Yeah, back to playing with 3 tight ends on the field.
The real. This is
enough
move the numbers.
Enough of Mahomes.
This is why you have me on.
Noah Gray.
So you
please,
got Mahomes.
Nate.
Yeah, this is the title of the episode. It's Mahomes and 3 tight ends. That's what Nate Tice talks about that for 15 minutes. But so the 3 tight end looks, they got to it last year. Why that matters is because I mentioned before, Kelsey is receiver first.
Yeah.
Defenses treat him as a receiver. So they match with lighter bodies. When they get to 3 tight ends, they make defenses go, all right, are we going to commit to heavier bodies, so stop the run just naturally, physics, or are we going to stay in lighter bodies and maybe dare that they can run out 3 tight ends over and over against us? The Eagles last year in the Super Bowl dared that they can match them with lighter bodies, and they got steamrolled, and that was a Pacheco game. So this year, starting in the playoffs, the Chiefs had used, where was it? Okay, here we go. They used 12 or 13 personnel, so 2 tight ends or more, 27 of 47 snaps against the Bills. So over half were with multi-tight end looks. They used 13 personnel with 3 tight ends in the wildcard game against the Dolphins, the most they ever have with Mahomes as a starter.
Wow.
So they've just, since the playoffs started, they're like, tight ends, let's get the tight ends out there. Now, of course, the receivers are all healthy, so we'll see how that goes. But I do think this is a thing because the 49ers are worse out of base when they have 3 linebackers on the field. So this is something that Andy Reid will pull. And in the playoffs, he's pulled it more than a dozen times in every game. So get ready for some Blake Bell and Noah Gray action out there. That's, again, moving those needles for this podcast. But really, this is going to be a schematic advantage that they have, and I think they'll lean into it because they've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, you get Blake Bell's name on the pod. Like, we are just subscribers.
Belldozer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Noah Gray, the fullback tight end from Duke. Yeah, really moving those numbers.
Exactly. Yeah, I can just hear the subscribers to this podcast is going up and up and up and up and up. All right, I do want to talk about the Chiefs pass game, just kind of since you kind of brought up the tight ends and everything there. My stat on that is all we talked about. A lot of people, the big dorks talked about the battle of the NFC Championship was going to be the middle of the field. Against this 49ers defense, like you mentioned, that is still the thing that if they've struggled this year, they still own that middle of the field. The Lions passing game, I mean, Jared Goff, baby, he loves that middle of the field, and that's where things are going to go. And we talked about that a lot on the preview show with Dalton last week. Results-wise, Jared Goff went 7 of 10, 7.6 yards per attempt, 125.4 passer rating on non-deep throws over the middle of the field. So that's like under 15 yards in the NFC Championship game. So I'm curious from your perspective, because to me, this Chiefs passing game flows through that middle of the field as well. Obviously, with Mahomes, they're going to have plays available to them that are not available to the Detroit Lions just because of who the quarterback is. Jared Goff short circuits anytime he's got to move a little bit.
He's just like blacks out. He's like, anything can happen.
I think I said to Robert Mays, your co-host yesterday, I was like, he would have made a hell of a javelin player. Just sit there and launch it, baby.
And launch it. Or like in 1992. Everyone was just like,
oh my God, yeah.
Just heavy play action, 2 routes. Yeah, let's do this.
Top 3 quarterback in 1992. Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Jared Goff probably, was he even born in 1992?
Well, he's drafted 15, 16? So, yeah. Right? No.
I don't know.
Probably not. 94?
94.
94?
Or 94.
Yeah, I'm doing the math. 22. Yeah, 94. So,
so yeah, too bad. He should have been born, about 20 years earlier. Anyways, point of that is, obviously there's going to be plays available to the Chiefs that are not available to the Lions. But still, I feel like because of where Rashee Rice wins, what we were just talking about, because of these tight ends, obviously most notably Travis Kelce, they're going to want to own that middle of the field as well. How do they match up from a passing game standpoint versus that defense in the middle of the field specifically?
Yeah, even considering like stuff like bubbles and flats, which are slot routes, quick hitters, Rashee Rice's game really.
Yeah.
I will call that part of the middle of the field too. Mm-hmm. I think that is a natural way to attack how this 49ers defense plays. You're trying to put the slot player in a bind on those. So that's not Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. It's Lenore, who still is a good player. But you're trying to put him in a bind. The Bengals attack this. The Jaguars try to attack this. Multiple offenses try to attack that little thing. The Lions a little bit. Packers a little bit. But I do think that over the middle of the field, it's going to be those 5-6 yards. It's really going to come down to tackling, it's going to sound so fundamental, but it really matters because Mahomes is going to pepper it. So can one guy break a tackle? One guy pop out of there? Kelsey will be the guy that usually they work over the middle, but this is where you might see the Noah Gray stuff. This might where you see just the underneath stuff. This might see a running back stuff that just like everything's downfield, get the linebackers way out of there and just pepper them underneath and let them try to go to work. So it's hard. Like, this is what the 49ers want you to do. They want you to try and make a living off 4-yard gains. Like, Phillip Rivers would have loved it. But most quarterbacks get bored. Yeah. And Mahomes doesn't. And so watch the first quarter of last week against the Ravens. That's just, Mahomes is like, I'm not bored. This is great. I'll just throw 6-yard gains over and over. it's going to be a little bit more of that. He has to be patient, but he's fine doing that.
There's something with quarterback play where you have to just like not get bored with the mundane. You just have to okay, yep, this 5-yard flat route, whatever. Like, I'm cool throwing this little bubble. I'm fine throwing it. No big deal. Like, this is all part of the offense. Like, taking joy in the mundane.
Just get on base.
Sometimes. Yeah, just get on base instead of just like gotta take this shot. You see that and that's a differentiator between a guy like Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. And to me, I don't know. I think Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Too,
yeah. I'm right there. But that's the difference here is I do think Josh still gets bored.
He does.
And that's what's beautiful about Mahomes and like the development. And again, this is where you get subscribers.
Mahomes, Allen.
Just Mahomes, Josh Allen.
Quarterback tiers.
Yeah, all right, start ranking them for me. No, but seriously, I do think that's going to be really interesting. Like, I love your point about can they get a Rashee Rice like in the slot and maybe run him more on out-breaking routes as opposed to some of these crossers over the middle, because that's fine. You can do that and that's great. And I still think that's going to be a big part of the offense, but getting to some of those perimeter quick hitting throws and can you get Rashee Rice breaking a tackle? I don't. Again, I just can't think of any of these other receivers like coming up big in this moment. But
I was like, oh yeah, you pepper him over the middle. I'm like, Watson, I guess. Justin Watson, I guess. But I think too, just even to bring up the Rice stuff is like it's going into. I'm spoiling. I was looking at receptions prop for Rice, but it's at 7. And I was like,
I thought I saw it 6.5.
6.5, okay. But I was like, that is they know exactly what I was like, what I was aiming at.
It's a lot, but and last week it was 6.5, but it was at plus odds. Again, we're going to talk about this.
We're going to talk about that.
I don't think I've made more money this year on anything other than hammering Rashee Rice over receptions. For most of the season, but I'm with you that now at this point I'm like,
they caught up.
They know what they know, and they know, as in the books know, and the 49ers definitely know.
Right.
So
and have 2 weeks, and it's like, I know, and especially the defense that are like them, they watch that same stuff, and it's like, oh, that's exactly what they use. I know. So I know that one is that one I'm still like hanging on. I don't want to go under yet or over yet, but that's one I've just been looking at all week.
All right, you got anything else on the Chiefs, or should we move to the 49ers?
I'll go one last thing is no QB has a higher scramble rate against zone coverage than Patrick Mahomes. So
that's so interesting because, and again, we talk about this all the time on fantasy shows that typically when you see heavy man coverage teams, the quarterback is going to scramble because obviously the defenders turn their back to the quarterback, whatever. But with Mahomes, it's not not as clean.
He uses his legs as a check down, and so he lets everything get out of there. It's okay. I'm going to go, and so but he has the highest rate. The 49ers run a ton of zone coverage, so maybe look at some home scrambles, which is you should be expecting.
We might be talking about that later.
I know.
When we get to the prop
I didn't know when to throw that one in there because I was like, did I say the prop or say it right now? But I'll throw it in right now.